Hey guys, it's Casey with Our Country Designs. Today I am going to be showing you how to make your own chalk paste. So, I made some right here, and I'm going to walk you through the steps to make it. I made this sign with my own chalk paste. So what is chalk paste? If you guys have heard of Chalk Couture, and I've done a review of their products on here in the past, so I will try to link to that at the bottom in the comments here. Otherwise you can scroll through our stuff, videos in this group and find that. But I figured out a way to make our own chalk paste. So this is really exciting because Chalk Couture, I don't know how much different people know about it. It's relatively expensive. You get a little container like this for about $9 for one color, and then you got to buy all the stencils and stuff. So this was a stencil. I bought the design online, and then I used the stencil that I normally make, like this one here. I got the next sign ready to go. So it's just one of our stencils that we make. I threw it on there, and then I made my own chalk paste. So I made one color. Well, I made the red for this sign. I got red and kind of an off-white. Here's the off-white. So you can kind of see in there that it's pretty thick, right? So it's more of a paste, not a paint. But we're mixing paint with a really unique product. So the white here that I did, I wanted to experiment with different types of paints too. So the white was Fusion Minerals paint in the Chaplin color. So it's kind of an off-white. And then the red is in my favorite brand of paint, General Finishes, Tuscan Red. Okay, so that was the red. It's quite a bit darker. I wish it was a little bit of a brighter red, but that's okay. So I just wanted to play around with the different types of paints. So I'm going to be mixing General Finishes Milk Paint Driftwood to make the next paste. And I'm gonna put the driftwood, which is a gray, as the windmill here. And then the writing I'll do in that white that I already have mixed. Okay, so the things you'll need is you'll need some type of paint. Okay, you could even use like store-bought latex paint. I think that would work just as fine as well. But this is what I have sitting around the house, so this is what I'm gonna use. Then I have a mixing cup. You can see this is kind of how I've been mixing them. It's not ideal because they're so big and I'm mixing such a small amount, but it's what I had laying around, so that's what I'm gonna use. I'm gonna probably purchase, because I love this so much, I'm gonna make a bunch of them. I'm probably gonna purchase like big condiment dishes and with caps on them so that I can make a decent amount, cap it, and then use it in the future. Okay, so you'll need some type of container to mix your stuff. These are kind of big oversized popsicle sticks. You'll need one of these to mix. Then you need some type of squeegee. So this is what I've been using. On these smaller, because this is kind of a smaller sign compared to what we normally make, it is a little bit difficult because this thing is huge to utilize and kind of get where I want it to go because it's so big. I also have these. These are what we use at our workshops, so I might try this one this time. Alright, so you just need some type of squeegee, which is similar to what they do with the Chalk Couture. They got like really nice flexible ones, but this will work too. Okay, so then our kind of magical recipe addition is this. It is called Aztec Secret Indian Healing Clay, world's most powerful facial deep pore cleansing. Okay, so this is what we're gonna use to make our chalk paste. It's some type of facial stuff, but it works really well. I'll link to it in the comments for Amazon as well. And it doesn't cost too much, 10, 15 bucks maybe. I'll have to double check. Okay, so I'm gonna drop this down here so you guys can see what I'm doing. So first thing I'm gonna do is open up my General Finishes driftwood paint. I couldn't find my can opener, so I'm using a screwdriver. I'm trying to get my stuff more organized, but it's a slow going process. So this obviously needs to be mixed up. It's not a color I've used in a little while. So you're just gonna mix whatever paint that you already have that you're going to be utilizing. I would suggest using like the bigger paints like this rather than like the little 99-cent craft paints, because you'd have to use probably that whole container to mix enough of the two together to really get much going with it. So we're just mixing this up really well. Now I don't have an exact recipe for this, so it's not like 2 parts paint to 1 part healing clay. We're just gonna kind of feel it out more or less, so we get the consistency that we're looking for. And again, this is kind of like a Chalk Couture, make your own DIY Chalk Couture paste. A lot cheaper. So I'm gonna take and just dump in some paint. I'm not gonna do a lot because I'm gonna have plenty left over as is. I'm just doing the windmill in this. I don't know if I have covers for these containers sitting around, so I don't want it to all go to waste. So I did pour quite a bit in there because it's kind of hard to control it as it comes out of the can. So it's got a, I don't know, a good layer on the bottom of the cup here. I'm gonna see if I can bring it, so you guys can see exactly. Okay, so then this is our secret ingredient, the Aztec Secret Healing Clay. So I have just a teaspoon. I'm not throwing the whole teaspoon worth in. I'm just gonna grab a little bit out, and I'm gonna add it slowly into the paint to make sure that I don't overdo it. So I'm just gonna dump this in, and then I'm gonna stir some more. And then once this is stirred good, I'm gonna add probably a little bit more. So kind of the consistency that you're gonna go for is a Greek yogurt consistency. And you wanna stir till you get all that color gone. So you wanna blend in all of that clay. So you can see it's still a little bit, you can kind of see, here let me pop it up again. Okay. So many different angles. You can kind of see it's still a little bit watery. Okay, so I want it to be a little bit thicker than that. So I'm gonna just add in a little bit more of the healing clay, not a ton of it. I'd rather have to go back and add some more than add too much, because then you gotta try to level it back out with the paint by adding more paint into it, and then you're starting to mix more and more, and I just don't need a whole lot of this. So you're going for a Greek yogurt consistency. I'm gonna add just a tiny bit more. Now in reality, the cost of this, like making this a small amount like I am, at most is like $1, okay, at most. So I'm making a good amount for what you would pay. I mean, this isn't quite what you would get. It's close in those little Chalk Couture containers. It's pretty close. Because it does make quite a bit here. I'm gonna try to bring it to the bottom and show you. You'd pay $9 for a little bit more of this at a Chalk Couture. Okay. So I think it's pretty good. We're gonna move back up a little bit here. So kind of the next step is, I got my stencil on my board. Okay, so Chalk Couture sells their own stencils. They can be reused, but for just like maybe a 10 by 10 stencil, it's about 15 bucks, I think is what I paid for it. I can make this stencil for really cheap. If you don't have a cutting machine, you can buy stencils made as well. We sell stencils only as part of our DIY kits. If you go on our website, we got hundreds of designs to choose from, and you can choose the stencil only option. If you don't see what you're looking for, let us know and we'll make it for you. So I'm gonna tape off right here because I'm gonna do 2 different colors and I don't want the colors to overlap. I'm gonna just take like 2 different pieces of tape And I'm not pushing it down really hard because when I rip off the tape, it's gonna kind of rip up the stencil too, okay? And then you're basically gonna just take it right out of here with your popsicle stick, because it's thick. And I'm gonna take and just kind of dab it up here on the top. You don't need a ton of it. With the red rooster on the one that I originally showed you, I went back and added a second coat because I didn't think that the first coat did it well. So then you're gonna take your squeegee after you get the top covered. I'm such a messy painter. I'm looking over here. Just in the time I was talking to you guys, I got some white all over the rooster somehow. I don't know how that happened because I didn't have that there when I was started this video. Okay, so you're gonna take your squeegee right at the top and you're just going to pull it straight down. So you're pulling all of that paste with you. Now, there's a lot left over, so I'm just gonna take and scrape her off right back into my original container. And then I'm gonna go back and do the same over here. And then I'm just gonna go, so it's got good coverage. But I'm just gonna go and clean it up a little bit, just clean our lines. This stencil that I'm using is a really old one. It had dog bite marks in it and everything, so I'm hoping I'm gonna get a pretty good seal with it. It dries pretty fast because it's a thin layer. And I think this one's got good enough coverage. I'm just gonna take a baby wipe and wipe off my squeegee so I can use it for the next color. Baby wipes come in handy for a lot of things in the craft room, so if you don't have baby wipes, be sure to grab some. And then I'm gonna take this tape off. I'm not gonna wait too long. I'm gonna take this tape off here. I'm gonna set it aside because I'm not gonna reuse this paint or that piece of tape. But then now, since I blocked off this side, I'm gonna block off the other side. And thank you, Laura. But you can do this too. That's why I'm doing a video. It's easy. I believe in you. I think you could be a crafty person. All right. Then I have this white that I made that I used on the first sign. Okay. So I'm gonna use this for the second half, for the writing. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna lay it out on the top. And I got paint flying everywhere. When we made the craft room tables up in my craft area, a requirement was that the tabletops had to be wood of some sort so that I could refinish them because I'm so messy. Because originally we were looking at like nice hard countertops and decided against it because that just wouldn't be, it would be very expensive to replace those later on down the road. Okay, so I got this on here and I'm just gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna pull down. This white, I think, makes such a, it's so much more noticeable than the red or the gray because it's a brighter color. And I'm doing it on a darker wood. The stain of this wood, you'll see a little bit better once I pull the stencil off because I got it all taped up. But it's a really dark wood color. So you're just gonna go through and pull it straight down. So this is so much quicker than how I generally paint signs. Okay, obviously you gotta make the paint, but once you make a couple of them, it would go really quick. At least making, like I use a lot of white, not this off-white, I'd probably do more of a stark white, but I use a lot of white, so I'd probably make some of that. Black is another really common one that I utilize. And just have it ready. This goes so much quicker. So if you miss a spot, or I kind of like a consistent look, so that spot was a little faded. It didn't cover really good there. And here on the F, all I'm gonna do is add a little bit more and go back and wipe again. Another one of the downsides to the Chalk Couture is that you have to work really quick to get the stencil off to make sure that you don't pull up the design that you just pasted down. With this, you don't have to worry about that. This on my last one was completely 100% dry when I went to rip it off, and it had really clean lines. So we don't have to wait till it's dry. We don't have to have it while it's wet necessarily. I'm a big proponent of pulling it off wet with my other way of doing it. But so far it seems to come off pretty good doing it even if it's dry with this method. I'm getting paint everywhere because my hands are all full of different colors. Alright, so I got the tape off all 4 of the sides, and we're going to take the stencil off and kind of do our big reveal. It's just unbelievable to me how clean these lines come out. Because I use a kind of this dabbing motion when I do my normal ones, like the up and down dabbing with a brush to make sure I don't get any bleeds. And sometimes I get a little bit of bleeds if I put the paint on too heavy. So I was a little worried about this type of method, because you're kind of pulling the wood or the paint towards you, and it can really seep into underneath the stencil if you don't have a good seal. But surprisingly, I think these come out really, really good with clean lines. Just don't stick your hand in the paint like I just did. And if you want really good coverage and less of kind of a distressed look, even though this is relatively good coverage, you could let the first coat dry and go back and do the whole process over again. But I didn't feel the need to add a second coat for this. Like I said, I did do it for that. I'll show you the first sign again. I did do it for the red rooster, because I don't feel like the rooster that red covered really good on the dark stain that I'm utilizing here. I do think that I'm probably gonna start doing a lot of my signs like this, for the ones where I do a lot of my signs in really neutral colors, like just white, just black. I'll probably start doing this method because it saves so much time. And it's not so hard on my arms, my wrists, my hands, by doing that up and down dabbing motion for hours on end. All right, so there you have it. It turned out pretty good. There's just, like I said, this stencil was really beaten up. I got just like a little bit of a bleed mark down here and one right here, but besides that, there's no other bleed marks, and that's because of using a damaged stencil. And then again, here's the first one that we did. I got a little bit of that paint on the rooster. I'll have to figure out how I'm gonna go back and try to fix that. I'll figure something out. Because normally if I would do the dab, it would blend in a little bit more, but this technique being a little bit different, But I mean, look at the letters on here. Very little bleeding, if at all any. All right, so just to kind of recap here, you are going to need some type of paint. For example, General Finishes Driftwood is what I have on my windmill. For the white, I have Fusion Minerals Champlin. You're gonna need the Aztec Healing Clay. I'll link to in the description once I get this done. You're gonna need some type of cup to mix stuff in, and then a mixing stick. And your squeegee of some sort. This one, or I use this one. Whatever you have around. And then it's a pretty easy process. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think. I'm really excited about it. I think it's gonna be a huge time saver. I hope everybody is willing to give it a try out and share with us your photos. Thanks, we'll see you later.